Welcome to Southern California CEO Magazine. I'm Jeff Allen. On this segment, we're going to discuss the important role that the arts play in a community, not just culturally, but economically as well. My guest in studio is Patrick Brien, Executive Director of the Riverside Arts Council. Patrick Brien, nice to see you again.
Well, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me, Jeff.
You're welcome. Riverside, known as really the birthplace of America's citrus industry. And we're surrounded by orange trees to this day in the city, and maybe in diminished numbers. Yeah. How did this city get to be known as the city of arts and innovation? I mean, how did the idea come about in town?
Well, I think that we can look back to our previous mayor, Ron Loveridge, who really had the driving force behind getting the arts into the intrinsic nature of the city itself, saying that it's more than just an accoutrement. It's rather a part of who we are and what we do. The arts have an ability to help a community to define itself. And I think that we were very lucky that Mayor Loveridge was able to see that and put it into action. It was a process to get the whole thing going. Are we the city of the arts? Are we the city of arts and culture? And really, because of the technology and the educational opportunities here in Riverside, eventually it was settled on to be the city of arts and innovation. And I think that really does reflect the wide breadth of opportunities in both areas that we see here in this community.
You touched just a second ago on the importance of the arts to a community and helping a town or city to define itself. Let's kind of expand on that just a little bit. With respect to maybe the city of Riverside, why are the arts so important in this town?
Well, there's a lot of different arts, organizations, genres. It also is something that can really help drive the local economy. The Riverside Arts Council has done a couple of studies in partnership with the Americans for the Arts out of Washington D.C., the Arts and Economic Prosperity Studies, which show that, for example, on average, an audience member who attends an arts-related event will spend $24.80 above and beyond the cost of admission. That's money that is being spent in local restaurants and local shops. If you start adding up the number of people that attend arts-related events in the city of Riverside alone, and you use that as a multiplier, there's a tremendous investment that is having a fantastic return. Say, for instance, you have an organization that attracts only 1,000 people. Multiply that by $24,000 or $24.80, and $24,800. Well, most organizations attract a lot more than that. The Arts Council alone touches 500,000 people per year. So I think that we can be very, very confident in saying that the impact that the arts can have in a community and in this community is quite profound.
But at the same time, you have your own sets of challenges because Riverside is a very, very diverse community, very high student population, and there are upper income earners, low income earners, and there are those sections of the community that may not have the contact with the arts that you would like to see. So how do you bring these people into the museums and the galleries and the show places, the theaters? How do you get them more involved on kind of a broader level and bring those numbers up to something that may be more representative of the nation as a whole in terms of participation in the arts?
It's a very important question that you're asking. It's something that is at the forefront of a lot of what we're doing, and not just us. James Irvine Foundation came out with a study which showed exactly the type of thing that you're talking about. And they've got an initiative, it's something that we've been working on, where it is a method of exploring engagement. how do you actually get in touch with the people as to where they are being engaged? It's not that they don't like art. It's just that they don't particularly have an interest in going to art that's outside of their culture. They participate, it's just we don't know where. And if organizations were to blithely move forward, continuing to program what they'd program, then eventually they're going to hit some hard times. Their audiences are going to dwindle. And so it behooves everybody to really take a look at how to get in touch with these people. And one of the ways that I think that you can do this is you need to explore who they are and where are they. And you need to touch them in the ways that they're used to being reached. It doesn't do any good to send postcards out. They're not going to look at them. They're not going to even see them. So where does a Latino family typically spend their free time? They might spend it in a park. Instead of going to the movies, they may have a gathering out there. How can you partner with Park and Rec in order to reach out to these families? Because that's a good resource right there. It's finding some of the local partners. Youth. They might participate in AYSO soccer. So how can you partner with AYSO? How can you actually go to where they are and find out what it is that they're interested in?
Is it also possible to, Patrick, that the city, the Arts Council, whether it be your department or maybe somebody else's department in town, go out to these, call them underserved communities, okay, and help them discover their own culture and how to bring this out in the form of performances or the physical arts, or whether some other kind of artistic endeavor, and have them put that on display for their own community and share that within their own community, essentially creating these micro types of museums or galleries, so that essentially you're not just taking the arts to them, but you're helping them to discover the arts and the abilities within their own neighborhoods.
Again, I'm glad that you mentioned that. There's a group here in town, Division 9 Gallery. They partnered recently with another nonprofit organization, Ballet Folklorico de Riverside. This is a good example of why Riverside is the city of arts and innovation, is you've got people like this that are out there. They did Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos. Attracted probably 12,000 people to downtown Riverside. Wow. People that typically don't go into downtown Riverside. The leader of Division 9 Gallery, Cosme Cordova, was talking about how when he grew up in the Arlanza district, he stayed in the Arlanza district. He never came to downtown. And so as an adult now, it's his goal to get people to move in between some of the areas and neighborhoods where they don't typically feel comfortable. He has it as his goal to make people feel comfortable. And so what you have is a cultural expression. People are being encouraged to come out and celebrate their culture. People are also being encouraged to come out and experience another's culture, breaking down some of the barriers that are there. Ballet Folklorico de Riverside, they've been around for 30 plus years, and bringing in people to dance, traditional dances, and dress up in traditional costumes and go out and perform for people that otherwise, even though it's part of their culture, might never come into contact with it. And a lot of these people, after seeing it, they want to join and they want to dance. That's why that group's been so successful for so many years.
It's easy to talk the talk. Riverside, the city of arts and innovation, and the city has been kind of promoting that for many years now, but how do you walk the walk? We've talked about some of the challenges that a city of diversity faces when it comes to bringing people out, to engage them. How does how do you help the city live out this expression of as the arts and innovation? How do you, in your position, Pat, actually help the city to do this each and every day, live this, and be the city of arts and innovation that it says it is?
Well, I think that it's something that actually can be manifested in several different ways. Some of it is bricks and mortar. The city's made a tremendous investment in terms of the refurbishment of the Fox, the building of the box next to it, the exhibit hall, the redoing of the municipal auditorium. These are all tremendous investments that the city has made. And I remember back when the city was initially thinking about doing a black box because they recognized that it would be a great accompaniment to the Fox. I went with Councilman Mike Gardner, Assistant City Manager Belinda Graham, and Carl Carey from the city. We went up to Ashland, Oregon, and toured one of the best black box facilities in the country.
Let's talk about what that is. What is a black box for the uninitiated?
Well, a black box is literally that. It's a room that's a square, typically, and it's painted black, and it can be any one of a number of things. In this case, it can seat up to just over 200 people in multiple configurations. If you have something that you want a traditional proscenium where the audience sits here and the actors perform here, you can set it up that way. If you want to put the action in the middle and have the audience surrounding it, that's in the round, you can do that. You can put it in 3/4 thrust. So the audience is on 3 sides. It's the beauty of a black box facility is it can meet the needs of whatever it is that's going on inside it. And it's a great opportunity too for a lot of organizations that are in this community that might not be able to fill 1,642 seats at the Fox. And they certainly can't afford to rent the space. So they can certainly bring in 200 people. And it's a great way for them to showcase what they do on a different level. We had Riverside Youth Theater that was performing out at a church in Moreno Valley because they didn't have a space to perform it in Riverside. They've been doing the last couple of shows at the Box, and they've sold out almost every performance. So now they're performing in one of the flagship institutions, the venues of the city, and everybody knows who they are. Those who don't soon will. So I think that's one of the great side benefits that comes with having a facility like this.
Any city with museums, galleries, if they're participating in the arts whatsoever, they rely heavily on donations. And that's contributions from people walking into the museum. Perhaps if they don't take admission, they have boxes for donations, and then they have corporations, organizations in town that contribute money on a regular basis to keep these places open. The city of Riverside has a unique annual event called the Mayor's Ball, and you're part of that. Tell us a little bit about the event that we've seen recently. The city's new mayor, Rusty Bailey, coming in. Mm-hmm. Tell us how that event works and how important it is to the city and the function of all of the various arts and culture initiatives, programs, and facilities.
Well, the Mayor's Ball became the Mayor's Celebration this year. This has actually been the Riverside Arts Council's annual fundraiser for the last 30 plus years. And it's our way of raising money for the Community Arts Partnership Grant Program. So we turn around and give a portion of the proceeds that we raise out to organizations that are doing project-based grant applications that come into us. And the things that we support include busing for children to go to their first, many times, performances at places like Performance Riverside, at Landis Auditorium, Riverside Community Players, the Philharmonic, has programs that we support, the Riverside Art Museum. It's a great way for people to say, hey, I have an idea for a project. What do you think? Can you give us some funding for it? It also helps the Riverside Arts Council to support its own efforts, which are largely in support of other organizations. We help groups to learn how to write better grants. We help them to learn how to market themselves in a different way or in a better way. We teach people how to submit their financials to the IRS. Even if you're a nonprofit, you still need to file the 990, or you run the risk of losing that nonprofit status. So that's a lot of what we do, a lot of what the Mayor's Celebration supports, and it's been my goal for several years to try to better incorporate the local arts organizations into the center of that event, because really what I've felt is that it should be a showcase of what it is that we have to offer. And this year, I think that we were the most successful that we've ever been. Certainly it was the most successful fundraising event that we've yet had, which was really great. A lot of the comments that we got, the feedback, as well as the money that was raised. And also the idea of the arts being everywhere that you looked. That was something that was important to me, and because every organization that I asked to participate were happy to do so, that was something that came true. We had jugglers, we had a person that was doing villainous caricatures, not your standard caricatures. We had artists painting on a paint wall that were trying to get people that were attending to paint as well. We had dance groups that were performing. It was just overall a really fantastic event, and a great way for people that aren't familiar with what all there is here in this community to get a chance to experience that.
And Patrick, in the city, as in many bigger cities, the venues, the performing venues, the visual arts venues, all the galleries, the museums, they tend to be kind of clustered together. Okay, and with respect to the city of Riverside, kind of in the Mission Inn area, which is kind of the city's crown jewel, I guess you might say, as far as places, destination places to visit. And there has been, I think, certainly a push in recent years for the arts to be able to attract more people into town, to make the city in general, to make the downtown area more of a destination, certainly for local families, visitors, a place where people will go and where they'll stay. Do you think that there is a real understanding, maybe not necessarily by people in Riverside per se, but by people in general, about the connection between the arts and the economy? I mean, and how do you bring those two together? How important is it, or how difficult is it for the arts to become a key driver of the economy?
I think that a lot of people, when you ask that kind of a question, they might be a little bit surprised because they don't think about the arts as being inextricably tied into the economy of a community. We've had restaurants, Mario's Place, that have stated that whenever there's an event at the Fox, their business goes up. So there is a direct correlation. If you go to see a play or a concert, you're going to be thinking in terms of, well, where can we have dinner beforehand? Where can we go for drinks afterwards? So there's that. There might be an hour to kill. So what kind of local shops are there? So you're going to see people that'll be going into some of the local places. They might, if they become familiar with the area, and this is something that we've seen happening too, they'll know about other places. The Arlington district. They may swing through there because there's a shop that's been advertised through an event that's taking place in downtown. There's a lot of connectivity that goes unseen by most people. There's also a great benefit that comes from just an organization itself that invests the money that they have into a community. If you take, for instance, a theater company, they buy their lumber locally. They're certainly not going to have it shipped down from Oregon or something. They buy the material for their costumes locally. So that's in support of local businesses. That's also providing money into the tax base. There's people that, for some of the larger organizations, they get hired and they actually have jobs. The Fox has stage technicians. The museum hires curators. So there's a lot of people that are actually making a living based on the arts. It's not just volunteer.
So with that said, Patrick, how important is it for the arts in a community to attract and retain businesses? And really particularly to attract maybe new businesses coming into the area?
Well, it's an old adage that if you're looking to relocate a business, what are the things that you look for? You are looking for good schools, but you're also looking for opportunities for yourself and your employees. What are the cultural amenities? And so if you are thinking, well, let's see, Riverside, that's a good hour away from Los Angeles, maybe I should be a little closer. Then you realize, well, there's the Fox, there's the Riverside Art Museum, we've got a Philharmonic here that is fully professional. How many different theater companies do we have that you can actually participate in at the community level? There's dance companies, there's a ballet. I think that you begin to understand then at that point, Riverside is a viable option. If you're a business, you can definitely be thinking that your employees will have ample things to do.
Getting back to the idea of involving the community in the arts, and those people who don't participate right now for a variety of reasons, maybe one of those reasons is cost or concern about cost. What are some of the ways, or how can people participate in the city's various arts venues, all of it, the things that it has to offer? How can they participate in a way that isn't going to cost them a lot of money, or maybe in some cases might be free?
Well, there's a couple of great ways to do that. On the first Thursday of every month, there is Arts Walk. That's when the institutions like the Riverside Art Museum, the Metropolitan Museum, the Culver Center for the Arts, all open up and they have programs. Also, the artist studios. The artists open up their studios to the public. The small galleries like Riverside Community Arts Association, Division 9 Gallery, People's Gallery, they're all open and free of charge. There's an artist vendor parking lot that we administer that is right out there in downtown. Can't miss it. There's 70 artists that are set up. And it's a good way to get acclimated to what's happening in the visual arts world. In terms of families, one of the great opportunities is Family Fun Days on First Sundays. It takes place on the first Sunday of every month, and it's a great way for children to get hands-on experience working with different arts projects. They'll get to go in, there's a theme to it, they get to keep the project, take it home. That you can visit any one of multiple organizations. Riverside Art Museum has it, the Culver Center, Mission Inn Foundation and Museum, Metropolitan Museum, and the Fox Foundation. They're all right there in downtown, easy access, and hundreds of people take advantage of this.
And of course, a big important side benefit there is that the family plays together and they're enjoying some quality family time.
Right, it demystifies the arts too. People that might otherwise never set foot into an institution like the Riverside Art Museum, maybe they're intimidated to do that. They'll go and they'll bring their kids because their kids want to have a good time, have fun. And they realize there's nothing so mystical about this place. This is fun. This is a friendly atmosphere.
And sometimes what you find out is the kids are a lot more connected to the arts than the parents are, and so that brings the parents in. I have another last question for you. Patrick. Where do you go from here? Where does the city go from here as far as any future plans that you have or things that you might be working on moving forward to further the cause of continuing to develop the city's arts and innovation identity from an arts perspective? What do you do?
Well, it's great that we have a city that is so aware of the role that the arts can play. Seizing Our Destiny, the city's strategic plan, the arts are an integral part of this. It's something that I have the opportunity to serve on. And you're seeing opportunities grow all around. One of the things that we do as the Riverside Arts Council is to help people to recognize and to seize those opportunities. So as I was mentioning, some of the technical assistance that we provide, the strategic planning, how do you move forward? How does an organization recognize and capture the things that are coming up on the horizon a year from now, 5 years from now? I think that it's important, I say this to people all the time, that you have to decide who it is that you want to be as an artist or as an organization, and imagine who it is in 5 years that you want to be. And begin to assimilate some of those characteristics into who you are right now. I think that with Riverside having redone the Fox, having done the Black Box, always looking at ways of promoting the events that are going on, it's a way to get the word out to more people and to become more intrinsically a part of their lives. All cultures, just like we were talking about earlier. Those are some of the key things that we're going to be looking at. How to get people more involved. And part of that's going to be, how do they want to be involved? So those are some of the issues that we're going to be facing, but also funding. How do you adequately fund the arts? The state of California traditionally is not anywhere near top in terms of funding for the arts. In fact, for many years we were at the bottom. We were 50 out of 50. That's changed recently due to some wisdom on the part of our elected officials at the state. And I think the recognition of the role that the arts can play as an economic driver is really having a lot to do with that. I think that getting the arts, making sure that they continue to be a part of the educational process, that's going to be a key issue. And it all helps to play into the idea of what it is that people are going to wind up being interested in the future. Who are our audiences going to be, and how do we capture them? Who are our artists going to be? It's more than just learning how to draw a straight line. It's more than just sitting in an audience and applauding when something is over. It's really, if you're talking about from an educational perspective, how can you impact the way somebody thinks? How can the arts help somebody to think abstractly? The study of music directly impacts students' ability to learn math. Because you begin looking at quarter notes and half notes, and it becomes something that you can have a practical application for, rather than just a series of exercises. And acting. What better way to learn how to not be afraid of public speaking, how to think on your feet. These are some great things that not only can affect the children in our community, but the adults as well.
Very interesting way that you kind of summed everything up. The arts touches us in many different ways, and it educates, it informs, it enlightens, inspires, and brings people together. And I want to thank you so much. I wish we had more time to talk more about it. Sounds like you've done a lot of work, and you've got more work coming up moving forward to help keep the arts and innovation in the city of Riverside. Patrick, thank you so much.
Jeff, thank you for having me. Great to be here.
It's going to wrap up this edition of SoCal CEO, and our guest today has been Patrick Brien, Executive Director of the Riverside Arts Council. You can view this segment again or check out other insightful business news along with in-depth discussions anytime by visiting SoCalCEO.com. I'm Jeff Allen. Join us again soon for another segment of Southern California CEO Magazine.